Welcome. Be sure to like and subscribe for more scary stories. Or I will come for you. A reminder that all stories are available on my podcast. The Curator, dark web horror anthology, is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Without further ado, today's story, Shadow of the Screen, by The Curator. I don't know what I'm expecting by posting this. Advice? Validation? Someone to tell me I'm not insane? Maybe I just need to put it somewhere that isn't my head, because my head has started to feel like a room with no windows. Just 4 walls and a single screen glowing in the dark, showing me the parts of myself I didn't know existed. I'm going to keep details vague for obvious reasons. Names changed, company redacted. If you think you recognize this, no, you don't. And if you're here to tell me just go to HR, guess what? I did. I did the whole thing. The meetings, the documentation, the we take these matters seriously. Bullshit that sounds like concern, but carries the warmth of a fax machine. Nothing happened. Except something did. And I can't stop thinking about the moment my life split into 2 timelines. The one where I still believed in rules, and the one where I learned what people mean when they say there are corners of the internet you don't come back from. Before all of this, I was normal. Boring normal. The kind of normal you don't notice until it's gone. I'm in my late 20s. I'm not some prodigy, not some chaos person. I'm the type who shows up early, refills the printer paper without being asked, and remembers everyone's birthday because my brain is annoying like that. I used to think that if you were competent and kind and consistent, the world would kind of meet you halfway. That belief did not survive this job. I grew up in the kind of house where being good meant being easy. Don't make a fuss. Don't be dramatic. Don't take up too much space. My parents weren't monsters or anything. They were just tired. Money was always tight, and the vibe in our house was basically keep the peace at all costs. I learned early that praise was earned through usefulness. I was the kid who got good grades because it made adults relax. I was the kid who apologized when other people bumped into me. I was the kid who could sense moods like weather and adjust myself accordingly. It sounds pathetic, written out like that, but it's true. I didn't even know I was doing it. It just felt like survival. And because of that, I became someone who was very good at swallowing things. A lot of people think bullying at work is just someone being mean. Like you can roll your eyes and move on. But if you're already wired to keep the peace, if your default setting is maybe it's me, then someone like Victoria doesn't just make your job hard. They rearrange your whole internal reality. After uni, I bounced around. Nothing glamorous. Admin roles, coordination roles, projects that were always urgent but somehow never important enough to be staffed properly. I was always the person cleaning up after other people, the person making the spreadsheet that made the chaos look like a plan, the person who didn't mind staying late because I didn't really have anything waiting for me at home. I lived in cheap rentals with roommates who rotated every 6 months. I dated here and there, but never long-term. Not because I didn't want to, but because I always felt like I was one bad week away from falling apart. Like I had to keep my life simple, so it didn't tip. I had anxiety before this job, not the cute kind. The kind where you get that hot, rising feeling in your chest and you start scanning the room for exits, even though you're just at a friend's dinner. The kind where your brain treats a slightly weird text message like it's evidence you're about to be abandoned by everyone you've ever loved. I managed it, though. I had routines. I ran sometimes. I listened to the same comfort podcasts. I kept my world small and predictable, and I told myself that was maturity. Then I got hired at this company. And for a minute, it felt like I'd finally cracked the code. The salary wasn't insane, but it was stable. Benefits. A role title that sounded like something you could build a real career on. It was the first time I signed a lease without doing that mental math where you're like, if I lose this job, I have exactly 5 weeks before I'm eating noodles in the dark. I remember calling my mom after I got the offer. I remember how relieved she sounded, like she'd been holding her breath for me without even realizing it. And I remember thinking, okay, this is it. This is the part where my life gets easier. It did not get easier. Victoria, I used to think people like my manager only existed in movies. Like the archetype, the immaculate hair, the smile that never reaches the eyes, the way she says your name like it's something she found stuck to the bottom of her shoe. Victoria. When I got hired, I was proud. I wasn't a kid fresh out of uni, but I wasn't exactly seasoned either. I'd spent years doing the unglamorous work, keeping my head down, learning the systems, picking up the pieces other people dropped. I'd built this quiet little identity around being dependable. The one who doesn't complain. The one who can be trusted. The one who makes life easier for everyone else. This role felt like a step into a different version of my life. A version where I could finally breathe. Where my shoulders could drop. Where I could stop bracing for the next bill, or the next messy team, or the next manager who just needed someone to take ownership of 3 people's jobs. Victoria took that version of me and folded it down into something smaller. It didn't start with screaming. It started with tone. Her emails always had this brightness to them, like she was playing the part of a leader who cares deeply about excellence. But there was an edge to every sentence. Like a knife hidden in a bouquet. Just circling back. Quick question. Why would you do it that way? Interesting choice. Let's discuss. If you've never worked under someone like that, it's hard to explain how it worms its way into you. You start rereading every message you send, checking it for flaws like you're defusing a bomb. You begin to anticipate criticism the way your body anticipates pain. And for me, it hit some old switch. That childhood thing. The be good, be useful, don't make trouble thing. I started trying harder, thinking if I could just be perfect, she'd stop. She was never outright cruel in a way you could screenshot and forward to HR without feeling stupid. She was too smart for that. She was cruel in a way that made you doubt your own memory. In meetings, she'd ask for my opinion and then pause like she was letting me speak out of politeness. And then she'd dismantle me. Not angrily, not passionately. With delight, the tidy, clinical delight of someone rearranging furniture. Emily, I'm struggling to understand how you got to that conclusion. Emily, walk us through the logic here, because it's not landing. Emily, I'm concerned this indicates a gap in fundamental understanding. She'd say things like that while making warm eye contact with the room, as if everyone was in on a joke I didn't understand. And the room would do what rooms always do. It would go quiet. No one wants to be the person who intervenes. No one wants to draw fire. Everyone stares at their notes, their laptops, their coffee cups, pretending not to see the slow, controlled drowning of a coworker. I'm not blaming them. I get it now. I used to be them. It escalated in small ways that felt survivable until they weren't. Deadlines that didn't make sense. Work assigned at 4:57 p.m. with EOD in bold. A constant stream of minor revisions that turned into full rewrites. Then the rumors, softly floated, never attributed. Victoria mentioned she's worried about Emily's capacity. Victoria said she's not sure you're coping. Victoria thinks you might not be the right fit. It wasn't just professional. It was personal. Like she wanted the version of me that existed outside the office to shrink too. I started pulling away from people without even realizing it. Canceling plans because I was tired, which was true, but it was more than tired. It was that fried, static feeling where your skin hurts and your brain feels like it's full of bees. I stopped calling my mom back because I didn't want her to hear it in my voice. I stopped answering friends' messages quickly because I couldn't handle one more demand on my attention. I started waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart punching the inside of my ribs. I'd lie there in the dark, palms damp, eyes wide, and I would run through every mistake I'd ever made at that company like a prayer. I stopped eating real meals. I'd grab whatever was easiest, crackers, cereal, a protein bar I didn't want. My stomach always felt like it was bracing for impact. I'd get to the office bathroom, look at myself under that unforgiving light, and see someone I didn't recognize. Hollow eyes, tight mouth, a face that looked like it was always listening for footsteps. Sometimes I'd put my hand on the counter and feel it tremble, and I'd think, this is ridiculous. It's just a job. But my body didn't believe me. My body thought I was being hunted. The night I slipped, there's a moment when you've been pushed far enough where your brain stops searching for solutions that match the rules. Not because you're brave, because you're tired, because you've tried everything else, and all you have left is the part of you that still wants the pain to stop. I found the forum by accident. I'm not going to say where. I'm not going to tell you what to search. I'm not going to pretend I wasn't looking for something, even if I didn't know what. It started as one of those nights where I couldn't sleep and my mind was chewing on itself. I'd already written a resignation email 3 times and deleted it 3 times. I'd already imagined telling Victoria off in a meeting, imagined walking out, imagined HR magically waking up and doing something meaningful. But reality didn't change. So I scrolled, and then I scrolled into a thread that felt wrong. Like the air pressure changed in the room. People weren't venting. They weren't asking how to cope. They were talking about fixing things, not with mediation, not with meetings, with finality. At first, I was disgusted, then curious, then, I don't know, something else. There are places online that don't feel like normal internet. They feel like a basement, low ceiling, stale air, no windows, and the quiet certainty that the people down there aren't pretending. I told myself I was just reading, morbid curiosity, a way to feel like I had power again. I told myself a lot of things. And then I took the next step. You know those choices that feel like nothing while you're making them. Like you're clicking next on a screen and it's boring and procedural, and your mind can't accept what it implies? That was me. Clicking, downloading, installing, clicking again. At some point, I realized my hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady. That scares me more than anything. I found a marketplace. Even typing those words makes my stomach twist, like my body remembers what my brain tries to bury. It looked like any other site with listings, except the listings were for things you shouldn't be able to buy. The language was careful, euphemistic. like everyone had agreed to speak in code, not because it protected them, but because it made the horror easier to swallow. Solutions, resolutions. Disputes, handled. Profiles, with reviews, ratings. Turnaround times, like ordering a couch. I spent hours just staring at it, switching between nausea and disbelief. Like if I stared long enough, the whole thing would collapse into a prank. It didn't. The final step, the step I can't stop replaying, was when I posted. I wrote about Victoria like she was a storm that had parked itself over my life. I didn't include everything. I didn't need to. The facts were enough. I attached a photo from the company directory, cropped the logo out, told myself that made it what? Less real. I sat there with the cursor blinking and my heart doing this slow, thick thud, and I thought, this is insane. This is illegal. This is not me. This won't happen. This is just a fantasy. I hit send anyway. Immediately, I felt sick. Not dramatic sick. Not movie sick. The quiet sick of realizing you've stepped off the curb and you can't call the car back. A reply came faster than it should have. Not detailed. Not friendly. Just efficient. Understood. Proof soon. That word has a texture. It's not abstract. It's not theoretical. It's physical. I shut my laptop and sat in my dark apartment listening to the refrigerator hum, and I tried to tell myself I had imagined it. I didn't sleep. The empty chair the next morning, Victoria wasn't there. No glossy hair. No clipped heels. No perfume that always smelled like money and control. Her office, glass-walled, of course, was dark. At first, it felt like a prank. The universe was playing for my benefit. Like the world had finally blinked. People noticed, but not in a dramatic way. In office ways. Has anyone heard from Victoria? I think she mentioned a thing. Maybe she's sick. As the hours passed, the explanations thinned. Victoria didn't miss meetings. Victoria didn't fail to respond to emails. Victoria didn't vanish. By lunch, there was a low ripple of unease running through the floor, like everyone was trying not to admit they were worried. I watched them. I listened. I nodded when I was supposed to nod. I contributed exactly enough to seem normal. Inside, my mind was a storm, because beneath the relief, there was a cold thread of fear pulling tight around my ribs. I kept checking my phone, my inbox. Every vibration made my blood jump. At 4:12 p.m., I received a message. Not from work, from the place I wish I'd never found. There was a link. No words, just the link. My hands went numb. I waited until I got home. I opened the link, and the video started abruptly. No title, no intro, just raw footage from what looked like a dashboard camera mounted inside a beat-up sedan, angled to capture the rear view through the back window. The timestamp flickered in the corner, 2:17 a.m., somewhere in the desolate outskirts of a forgotten industrial town, the kind where streetlights were a rarity and screams dissolved into the night. There was Victoria, the woman who'd made my life a living hell for years, already bound and helpless on the cracked asphalt of an abandoned road. She was dressed in the same power suit she'd worn to the office that day, now torn and dirt-streaked, her designer heels discarded nearby. Her wrists were zip-tied behind her back, and a thick rope, like the kind used for towing, looped around her ankles, knotted securely with multiple loops to prevent slippage. The other end was fastened to the sedan's tow hitch, visible in the frame as the camera panned slightly, the metal gleaming under the car's taillights. Her mouth was gagged with a strip of duct tape, her eyes wide with terror, mascara running down her cheeks from earlier tears, or maybe a struggle. She writhed on the ground, muffled pleas escaping as she tried to inch away, but the rope held firm, allowing only futile squirms. The engine revved, a low growl that vibrated through my speakers, and the car lurched forward slowly at first, testing the tension. Victoria's body jerked as the slack tightened, her legs straightening involuntarily. She screamed into the gag, the sound distorted but piercing, her head whipping back as the drag began. The car accelerated to about 20 miles per hour, the dashboard cam capturing every bump and skid. The road was rough, potholed and gravel-strewn, and her body bounced harshly against it, her bound ankles pulling her along like a rag doll. Pebbles and debris kicked up from the tires pelted her face and torso, drawing first blood as sharp stones sliced into her exposed skin. Her suit jacket shredded quickly against the friction, revealing raw abrasions on her arms and back. As the car picked up speed to 35 miles per hour, the real horror unfolded in agonizing detail. The rope dug into her ankles, chafing through her stockings and into flesh. Blood beginning to seep and trail in dark smears on the pavement. Her attempts to roll or twist only worsened it. One ill-timed flip sent her shoulder grinding against the road, dislocating it with an audible pop that the mic barely caught over the engine noise. Her hair, once impeccably styled, matted with dirt and blood, whipped around her face as the wind from the motion assaulted her. The camera's rear-facing angle showed her body elongating unnaturally with each acceleration, her spine arching in pain as the drag abraded her hips and thighs. Chunks of fabric from her skirt tore away, exposing lacerated skin that peeled like paper under the relentless scrape. Miles ticked by. The odometer visible in the dashcam's overlay climbed from 0 to 5. Then 10, shifting from rural backroads to a stretch of deserted highway. At higher speeds, around 50 miles per hour, the torture intensified. Her legs, elevated slightly by the rope's tension, slammed repeatedly into dips and rises, fracturing bones with sickening cracks. Her knees hyperextended, ligaments tearing as the pull fought against her body's natural limits. Blood streamed freely now, a crimson wake painting the road behind her, mixed with bits of gravel embedded in wounds. Her face dragged intermittently when her body twisted, scraped against the asphalt, eroding her cheekbone and nose, turning her features into a pulpy mess. The gag muffled her howls, but her eyes, locked on the receding taillights, pleaded silently, flickering with fading consciousness. The car slowed only once, around the 8-mile mark, to navigate a sharp turn, giving a brief, horrifying close-up as the vehicle circled back momentarily for the camera to linger. She lay there, barely moving, her body a roadmap of ruin, ankles swollen and mangled, rope embedded so deep it had sawn into muscle, torso a lattice of road rash, bones protruding from compound fractures in her arms and legs, face unrecognizable, swollen and bloodied beyond repair. Then the acceleration resumed, dragging her for the final miles, until, at the 12-mile mark, the car pulled into a shadowed ditch. The rope was cut, and her limp form rolled to a stop, steam rising from her overheated wounds in the cool night air. The video ended with a static shot of her stillness, the engine idling before cutting to black. I closed my laptop so hard it hurt my fingers. Then I sat there and I started to laugh. Not because it was funny, because if I didn't laugh, I was going to scream, and if I screamed, I didn't know if I would stop. I went to the bathroom and threw up until there was nothing left. Then I rinsed my mouth, looked at myself in the mirror and thought, You did this. And behind that thought was another one, quieter and more horrifying. And a part of you is relieved. The aftermath. The next day, it was official. Victoria was unavailable. That was the phrasing. Unavailable. There was a senior manager pacing around the office with a phone pressed to his ear, his face pulled tight like a curtain. HR was suddenly present, which would have been funny if it wasn't terrifying. Someone said the police had called. Someone said her partner had reported her missing. Someone said she was found. Someone said she wasn't. Rumors are a kind of weather system in workplaces. They form fast, they move faster, and they leave everyone damp and uneasy. I kept my head down. I did my work. I answered questions with careful neutrality. No, I haven't heard. I hope she's okay. That's awful. My voice sounded like someone else's, like I was playing Emily in a show about Emily's life. At night, I would lie in bed, and my brain would replay the images I saw, not in detail, but in sensation. The sense of inevitability, the helplessness, the sheer fact of it. And then, always, the same question, what does this make me? Because I didn't just fantasize about escape. I didn't just wish for her to be gone. I reached into a dark place and pulled, and something came out. A week passed, then another. Victoria became a name, spoken less and less. The way you stop touching a bruise because you realize it's not getting better. A temporary manager took over. Things got quieter. Not good, just quieter. People smiled at me more, asked if I was okay, told me they appreciated my work. It was like the office had become a different planet, one where I could breathe again. I should have felt grateful. Instead, I felt like I was walking around with a secret bleeding through my pores. I started seeing patterns in everything. A black car parked on my street 2 nights in a row. A stranger in my building's lobby who looked at me too long. A new account viewing my LinkedIn profile. Rationally, I knew these could be coincidences. But paranoia isn't rational. Paranoia is your nervous system, refusing to come down from a fire it thinks is still burning. Then, one night, another message arrived. No link this time. Just text. Satisfied. Because it wasn't just a question. It was a reminder. A receipt. It meant we did what you asked. And beneath that, something implied, we know you exist. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say anything. I wanted to throw my laptop out the window and move to another country and become someone who never learned what I learned. But I also felt something else. A pull. Not desire. Not exactly. Curiosity. Power. The most dangerous emotion I've ever felt in my life wasn't anger. It was the sensation of having a problem and watching it disappear. Because my brain, in its weakness, started offering me the worst bargain imaginable. What else could you fix? I didn't reply. I shut the laptop, and I sat there listening to the silence in my apartment, realizing how loud silence becomes when you're afraid. The monster in the mirror. Here's the part I don't know how to write without sounding like I'm trying to be poetic. I'm not. I'm just trying to be honest. I used to think there was a clear line between good people and bad people. I used to think if you didn't hurt anyone, you were safe inside yourself. Now I'm not sure what I am, because Victoria hurt me. For months, she chipped away at me until I was a version of myself that couldn't breathe, and I wanted it to stop so badly that I let myself believe in a door that shouldn't exist. And once I believed in it, I opened it. I don't know what happened to Victoria in full. I don't want to. My mind keeps trying to reconstruct it anyway, like it's addicted to horror. What I do know is that something happened that can't be undone. And whether it's legal or moral or spiritual or psychological, it's attached to me now. Like a shadow, like a second skin. I've tried to tell myself I'm a victim who snapped. That I was cornered. That I was desperate. That she had it coming. But those are stories people tell themselves so they can sleep. And I don't sleep. I jolt awake at night, convinced there's someone standing in the corner of my room. I check the locks twice. 3 times. I listen for footsteps in the hallway. Sometimes I think I hear them. Sometimes I think I deserve to. The worst part isn't the fear of being caught. It's the fear that nothing will happen, that the world will move on, that Victoria will be another office ghost story, and I'll be left alone with the knowledge of what I'm capable of. Because if I can do that when I'm pushed, what could I do next? And would I stop myself? Why I'm posting. I haven't told anyone this. Not my friends. Not my family. Not a therapist. Because what therapist do you tell a story like this to without watching their face change? So I'm telling strangers. Because strangers can't look at you and see you differently in the grocery store. Strangers can't call your mother. Strangers can only do what the internet always does. Judge, advise, mock, warn. Maybe I deserve all of it. But I need someone to say something that isn't my own thoughts echoing back at me. So here it is. I'm scared. I'm scared of the thing I touched and the way it touched me back. I'm scared that the bullying didn't end. It just changed shape. Because Victoria is gone, but I still feel watched. And now the screen doesn't feel like a tool. It feels like a window. And I don't know who's on the other side anymore. If you've read this far, please don't tell me I'm a hero. I'm not. And please don't ask me for details about how to find that place. I won't answer, and honestly, I hope no one ever does. All I want to know is, if you do something irreversible when you're desperate, do you ever get to be a person again? Or are you just a shadow of the screen forever? This is the Curator. I hope you've enjoyed today's scary story. Until next time.